Guys, thanks for being here, and I want to start with you, Motz. I mentioned the World Junior Summer Showcase. How many of you are aware of what that is? And if you're not, it's okay. Anybody know what's going on here? A lot of you. It's 4 teams are here, our team, Canada, Finland, and Sweden. And Bob, maybe you can share with us 42 players for the U.S. Tell us about the World Junior Summer Showcase, what you've seen, and there's 2 games left on the schedule. We will play Finland tomorrow at 4:30 at Ritter Arena, and Canada on Saturday at 4:30 at Ritter Arena. What do you hope to accomplish in those last couple of games?
Well, first, let's go to one thing. Don't ever do this again in morning after a game. Okay? And I'm gonna give you a little insight into coaching, all right? And even at my age, when you lose a game, it doesn't matter, even if it's summer, like you go home and and you kick your dog and yell at your wife, and the next morning you're still, and I don't own a dog, by the way, so he didn't get kicked. But you were as ornery as can be, and so the first thing we sit down, and all we're doing is rehashing what happened yesterday. And so really in a ticked off mood, but that's coaching. And so we need better timing when if you want to get a better version of what coaching life is.
Well, perhaps we could have won the game yesterday and all would have been well.
That's what happens. But it's summer hockey, and this is an evaluation process, and the first step, and I'm so appreciative of John for asking me to coach the team, and this is the 4th World Juniors that I've been able to work. And I think that helps when you go through the summer process where we bring our guys in from all over the country. You have 2 practices and you say, go play. And your competitive juices want to come out. And the truth is, any of the 4 summer evaluations I went through, I can't tell you the score of any of the games, but you remember it the next morning. But back to the process. We're getting to know the players, we're getting to identify them. We've kind of been hit with the injury bug with this group, so it's been a little, we're not getting a good look at a handful of players. But it starts to set the concrete starts to harden a bit on the process for us watching players and getting to know them, who we can trust in certain situations. Obviously, the top players that play need to be our top players. But there's the key ingredients in the team. That's what we spend at this time, not wins and losses. It's watching the players, and you mix your lineup back and forth through we got 2 games to go versus Finland and then Canada. So we got 2 important days to go with these 42 kids in camp, and we're 42 in camp. We're probably down to 35 right now, and that's the process. But the real process starts when these players get back with their prospective teams, and this is where John and his staff really become very important in October, November. They start practicing, they get in better shape, they get their structure going. So I've told the story a couple of years ago that there was a kid from Duluth we sent home from the camp because we had to narrow it down. I hope this story doesn't bore you, but I'm sure he called his mom and his agent and his dad. Well, they cut me. They cut me. We told him, we're not cutting you. We need to see. He played at Duluth. I was at St. Cloud. I'm going to watch you play. He didn't guarantee you. He thought he got cut. No, he made our team, played on the first line, and was a captain the next year. And that was Joey Anderson. And so we asked the players to trust us, what we're doing. But the big thing is we trust the process. We've been through it. And John's done a terrific job. They won gold the last 2 years. And so as emotional as we get during this week, you got to level the field. These kids will figure it out. Come December, we'll have the right 23, 4 players. How many is it? 25 players. We get since COVID now we've raised and they'll raise their hand. And USA Hockey could not be in a better spot right now in our player development pool and how they care for USA Hockey.
All right, so that's what's going on here.
Am I done?
No. Hopeful thinking. So we World Junior Summer Showcase. Can you imagine like getting 42 new employees and trying to get up to speed with them in a week and a half and know everybody is. That's what our coaches and staff are up against. So we get through this, and John, the next phase, outside of watching them, when things regather, one of the exciting things that's been done by Minnesota Sports and Events and USA Hockey, as I think all of you know, is bring this not just to the metro area, but throughout the state. So what will happen is the 10 teams will all have pre-camps in and around mid-December, and they'll be divided and be in different parts of the state for that. Bemidji, Rochester, Mankato, Duluth. And that's so cool. And John, maybe talk a little bit about, from the Team USA perspective, what will happen during that time in the lead up to the actual competition.
Yeah, we still have to make a decision of when the players are going to arrive. We have to look at the college schedule, when it breaks, and then how many days our coaching staff needs to get in all our elements in order for us to get prepared. Not only just for the tournament, but prepared for the first exhibition game. Most of that would have to do on the specialty team side. But as far as what we have to do in order to enter the tournament, is we really have to get prepared with who the players are going to be, how we institute our opening meetings. We've instituted we call it our Guardians program, where it's a team building exercise. We're going to come together as a group, and these players have to galvanize. They have to come together. They're from different places. They play different roles on their team. And the most significant thing is they're going to have to do something that they're not normally been given the task to do. So that's inside the team building part of it, and then the transition of how to get prepared for the tournament. And what we're getting this week is a little bit of a dose of humility, which is a good dose. And you got to start from a position of humility. But as far as building into the tournament, then in the preparations, the staff will really take it from there with our leadership group, and then establishing who's going to play in what position. As far as how it came to be in your question directly of how it came to be and going to the different places in Minnesota, you can pick anywhere in Minnesota and be welcomed, which is what we've been here. Hockey in this state is thriving. You can see the number of players that are coming from the state of Minnesota. It's leading the way just about every year on every one of our teams. But you can go to every corner and be at home, which is fantastic. And I think that we're going to go to Duluth, great arena, great environment, and logistically walk over from the hotel, keep things simple, keep the process very ordinary, make everybody feel comfortable, a part of the group, having each other's backs and things like that, so you become one unit.
How many players approximately will come in December, and 2 exhibition games? We really haven't announced who's going where, so we'll keep that with us. How many exhibition games ahead of the World Juniors as well?
We'll play 2 exhibition games. December 21st, we'll play Germany. December 23rd, we'll play Finland. Both.
Yeah, that's.
So I got announced.
You just asked me the question.
I didn't ask you the opponent, but that's okay. You answered thoroughly.
I'm full of information. I guess. Breaking news. At least it's true.
Good point.
So now that I just released that, I feel ashamed.
He didn't ask you the site either, but you could go ahead and tell us that.
So where was I?
And how many players approximately?
Yeah, we'll for the tournament we can have 25, as Bob was trying to allude to. It used to be a 23-man tournament. They've upped it to 25, so we'll have 14 forwards, 8 defensemen, and 3 goalies. And when you go through a tournament, it's a war, so you have to have players to replace easily. So they've accommodated that. But bringing to camp, we haven't come up with the numbers. Heavy would be 30, light would be about 27.
Perfect. All right. So that's before we get to the tournament. And now the tournament takes place and starts on December 26th. We know the venues, right? 3M Arena at Mariucci here on the campus of the University of Minnesota. Soon to be Grand Casino Arena in St. Paul, no more X. 5 teams in each location. We will play, the United States will play our group in the preliminary round in St. Paul at Xcel Energy Center. It's the US, Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, and Slovakia. And then the other group will play here in Minneapolis, Finland, Czech, Canada, Denmark, and Latvia. You play every team in your group in the preliminary round before you get to the playoff round. And Bob, when we talk about the preliminary round, of course you've been 4th time part of this tournament, 3rd time as a head coach. The preliminary round, what do you look to do with the team in setting the table to get further in the tournament? What are some of the key things you try and accomplish?
Well, the obvious things are putting the guys in the right seat on the bus, we always call it. You know, where they fit, where we're gonna get the most out of them. Convincing some kid, like a lot of these young guys will be playing a role with their college team that they probably can't have on this team. It's gonna be held by someone else. So we have to work with that player even through this camp and the early phase when we're up in Duluth, that they have to accept another role. You get this in the Olympics too. Everyone wants to make the Olympic team, but not everyone's gonna be on the power play. Just those, but there's so much talent, you've gotta have guys play different roles. It's putting an all-star team together. And that's one of the things that we'll go through is identifying, we're getting everybody the right seat on the bus, where they fit in, the leadership group. And I call it the slow drip. We just get better every day. You know, we have to fight through the games, and of course Canada and Sweden and Finland, but they're, international hockey has grown so much. Like, you can't take lightly Czechia and Slovakia. And I'll go back to 17, we're playing Switzerland, and Nico Hischier was, a great player in the NHL, was playing for Switzerland, and on paper, US should easily win that game. We almost got knocked out of the quarterfinals. They tied it with about 6-7 minutes to go. I may off of my time, and we were holding on. And they had a couple great players. And then, our big fella Greenway finds a way to score to get us back in the lead, and we just hung on with a great save just to get into the next to the medal round. And it's a war, and you're gonna be challenged in these games. Interesting, I've had so many conversations in small, at the bar, with groups, at a golf course, and with the hockey people talking about this tournament. And a lot of people north of the border in Europe, they know what this tournament, it's big. And I'll go, well, there was the greatest player in 17 in the whole tournament was Kirill Kaprizov. And you heard me. And the reaction, oh, he was in that tournament? Because everybody in our state knows Kirill. And superstar. And he was the best player in that tournament. We had knocked Russia off twice that year. And how many years later, he was drafted by the Wild and didn't come over for at least 4 years until he made his way to the NHL. Those are the players in this tournament, the best players in the world, and players that we're all going to watch then in the National Hockey League at one time. And just a little caveat to what we're trying to educate people in Minnesota to the talent level of this tournament.
Awesome. Yeah, my first World Juniors, when I got to USA Hockey 2 months in, Grand Forks, and it was Ovechkin versus Crosby. I'll never forget that. Not to mention non-Americans, but to Bob's point, obviously all the great American players that you know of, the Canes, the Suitors, the Parisis, the Fabers, and we can go on and on, have all played in this. To your point, I want to harken back, John, and ask you, I mentioned we don't get a chance to host this very often. 2018, we hosted in Buffalo. Bob was our coach actually that year. 2011, we hosted in Buffalo as well. 96 in Boston, 89 in Anchorage. And the very first time we hosted was in 1982 here in the Twin Cities. And a member of that team is sitting right here with us, John Vanbiesbrouck. And we talk about memories. And of course, Bees, you played for Team USA many occasions, but that tournament specifically in '82, any memories to share, things that come to mind? I know it's a long time ago. But.
Yeah, and first of all, it was very cold. I remember that because we went up to Grand Rapids and played a game. I don't know who we played, but it was the coldest game I've ever played in. But it was great because you got to play in the Met Center, which when you're at the level of these young players playing in a big barn, like it was fantastic. So to play in the Met Center was, we were going to play our last 2 games there. It was a dream for everybody. But I was just talking to Phil Housley about this the other day because we were on that team. You start going over the players. You remember this guy, you remember that guy. I didn't remember anybody, to be honest with you. But I do remember us being, really challenged because of the talent that all the other teams had. We didn't have the depth at that time. And, we're in a different position now, but 50 years ago to play at the Met Center, obviously it's not up anymore. So it's Mall of Americas. And just to relive some of those things, when I walked through the Mall of Americas, I looked for the home plate that's there, and I looked for all these little markings and the Marriott across the street. I just have such fond memories of coming back to Minnesota. I know Lou called me right away and said, Johnny, it's been 50 years. We got to host a tournament here in Minnesota. You got to have it. And I was like, okay, sir. So I didn't know what to say. I've looked up to Lou for such a long time, and all the people that have come before us, and it's just great memories.
That's awesome. And speaking of memories and people that had enormous impact, Montz, maybe one of the things that struck me when we awarded this to the Twin Cities is how cool, of course, being from Minnesota, that was part of it, but really there's a gentleman that played at the University of Minnesota that has made his home here in the Twin Cities, coached their 72 Olympic team. This tournament was his idea way a long time ago, 50 plus years ago. That is Murray Williamson, and he is an American gem, still going strong at, 92, 91? Let's talk a little bit about Murray's impact and just kind of the sentiment, how cool it is now that we have the 50th anniversary here of a tournament that he actually envisioned.
Well, it's to be part of this tournament, and I've been in Sweden with it and been in Canada with it, and a proud American in Buffalo, and how it's grown from an international standpoint. We think it's ready to explode in the United States, and for that to happen, you have to have a host city maybe, and I've been using the term that plants the flag in that. Not only are we winning now we won 7 gold medals since 2004 and 1 silver and how many bronze, and only 3 medals in the first 25 years. USA hockey, American hockey is at the highest level. The NHL knows it, the Europeans know it, the Canadians know it. We need the Americans to know it now, and we kind of jokingly say that the greatest thing that happened this year for us, maybe what the Kachuk brothers did at the Four Nations tournament. They brought the fight back to America, where all of a sudden you had these famous sports players from other sports. The basketball guy, Charles Barkley, was just going out that this is the greatest sport, but it's there, it's ready. We got to keep the flame burning. But I truly believe that nothing against Seattle, because Seattle one day, because the Kraken now have been there for a few years. This is the state that it had. That if we're going to do it, if not now, when? 7 years from now? No, it's now. And here we go. And we got to keep getting the word out.
Yeah, speaking of great basketball players, fun to see Trent Tucker the other night, and his kids are now playing hockey, and they're a hockey family. So the churn of hockey in our country comes along. Minnesota still leads the way, the most popular sport. And I harken back to Grand Forks, my first World Juniors in '05, and the main building was a college building. And now we have evolved. John mentioned the Met Center for a couple of games, but now we've evolved where the main venue, if you will, has to be an NHL venue because of the interest in the sport. So the churn keeps on ticking. And John's role, obviously, as a general manager of Team USA for the World Juniors, it's much broader. He works full-time for USA Hockey, oversees all things international, men's, women's, and sled. And I want to just, in that same vein, talk about the success and the continued churn and evolution of the sport. If you don't know, this past season, the U.S. won the gold medal in the men's worlds, the women's worlds, the sled worlds, and the World Juniors. No country ever has won the gold in all 4 of those. And that is so cool. We're awfully proud of it. Comes with great leadership through John and his team, all the great players, coaches, staff we have. And what does a year like that mean overall, and carrying that momentum now into the World Juniors on home soil?
It's a good setup, Fish. We're very proud of what we've done and accomplished. Years like this, men's world championships haven't won since 1933, and it's such a fight to get.
That was 1933. Are you guys processing that? It's a long time ago.
Yeah, our players, it's a motivating factor. We got a commitment late because Zach Wierenski, who was one of the 2 four-nation players that showed up for us, he's managing getting married and going to another wedding, and people have real lives, and he called me one day. He said, if you'll have me, I'll come. I was like, I kind of think so, but it was 11 days late. So you have to accommodate the best players in the world, and then a couple situations happened where guys just came together, and we fought through a tournament. And I give you a little bit of insight for that, because getting the best players is why you win. And we can put it on everything. You can say leadership and everything. You have to have the best players. The reason I put an emphasis on that is we have them. We have the best players. And to become the #1 country in the sport of hockey in the world is our goal. And we're right there. And there's a calculation that goes into the formula. You all can look up what the IHF format is on that. But our goal is to be the #1 country in the world in the sport. And our women are fantastic. They're leading the way in the sport. On the women's side, with the new Professional Women's Hockey League, we're very proud of that, and proud of the fact that the sport is growing with our women in this country, and it's fantastic. And then on the disabled side, with our sled team, 11-time world champions, they've lost 1 in the last 12. They're dominant. And you start getting to some of their personal stories, how they serve this country. It's fantastic. We don't tell these stories enough, and it's kind of back to what Bob said. You got to get the word out, and we're trying to do that the best we can. So the #1 way to do that is to win. It's to win. And being in Salt Lake last week, talking to winter sports, talking to the bobsledders, there came a moment in the time when they're asking me questions, what does it take to win? And one of the bobsledders said, he's like, well, we find people that can run a 10-2 and this, that. I was like, well, where are the people that can run 9-2s? We got to have better people, and you need winners. Bob Motzko is a winner. He's proven it time and time again. We have leadership in this country that are winners. And I'm not bashful to say that, because we have winning hockey players and we have winning people. That's what it takes. And for me, it makes my job easier when you go to Bob and ask him to do it, and he says, I'll do anything for this country. And so that's what we have, and it's the best way to describe it.
Awesome.
He doesn't read the chat boards after we lost this year. Jess Myers always tells me what they are.
Well, obviously, we won back-to-back World Junior golds. We're looking to win gold on home ice for the first time in the World Juniors, a milestone to achieve. And let's talk a little bit about how important the home ice advantage is, and for the fans to come out. I remember back to Xcel Energy Center and Matt Kowalska scoring the tying goal in the Frozen Four with last minute, and then Petoli went in overtime. I don't think that I've never felt the building shake quite like that. how important is to have that same kind of environment to help propel our team and for people to come out and support Team USA?
Well, it's no question, if you can get your crowd behind your group, and there's two things. When we were in Montreal in 17, and it was 20,000 black and red jerseys, and just a few parents of red, white, and blue, very few people, and we silenced them. That is the best. But now, they want to flip the script. Like, they all want to flip the script on us. But our players, when we saw that building, we saw the XL do in 2002 was an environment. Now, I wasn't at the Mets, the Metrodome in 87 and 91. We all watched it. Our city can do it. Our state can do it. And, you use Frozen Four, I use Olympics, with what happened in Lake Placid. We keep spreading the word. Our guys are gonna fight. They're gonna put their best foot forward. But if we can get that juice in the building, we gotta do our part to make sure we're in that medal round, which is a war to get to. I think it'll grow during the tournament. And the pure hockey fans will come to watch the hockey, but then we want to draw our fans into the fight as much as we want to draw our players into the fight. And we've watched that happen in our state time and time again. So there's a little magic dust that we hope can get spread around, and we got to do our part to help with that magic dust.
The magic dust, I like that. The accreditation, by the way, if you're wondering, from the International Ice Hockey Federation for media, the accreditation comes out in the fall. We'll get that information to you, and I know Kathy and Francis are going to send out a deck to everyone here that will go through a lot of the specifics and answer further questions. NHL Network is the television home for the World Juniors in the United States and has been for a long time. They do such a great job of covering the tournament. We'll have that to look forward to. I know there'll be more news we'll have to on all the great ancillary events in and around the tournament, and not going to spoil any surprises. But the group that produced all those things for the Super Bowl here, for the gymnastics trials here, they're the ones involved. And if any of you are around for that, know how fantastic that was as well. So that's going to be really cool. Before we close, I just want to get a word from Louie. Louie, will you come up? You were threatening John about having a tournament here, and why so important to have this tournament here? You've done such a great job in helping build the sport here in Minnesota and around the country, but why was this so important to you?
Well, it's important to me for a number of reasons. First of all, I think what you guys have been talking about, you need home support, and I think that fans in Minnesota will give you the kind of support and energy that you need to win. But secondly, this is the leading state, as John has pointed out a number of times here. If you look at the players, you look at the teams, you look at people who get drafted, you look at the people in the NHL, Minnesota leads the way. So if your leader in every other category happens to be in Minnesota, why would you give them the opportunity, since we haven't had it since '82? And it's the one thing that I think Minnesota hasn't had in hockey. Not winning the championship of Stanley Cup, but at least we've had finals here. But to get something like this is really a trophy. They've alluded to how important this is, but I don't think it really has sunk in here yet. It will when the games start going. But I really believe somehow, some way, we gotta get the people, the fans, the parents to know how important this is, because they should be bringing their kids. Because you know how important state high school is here, hockey, and how the kids look up to that. Well, this is a much bigger level for kids to aspire to, and they should get the opportunity to see what it's like, to see and feel the energy that John's been talking about. We really believe that this is a gem, as David and everybody's pointed out here, that is really not recognized yet in the state of Minnesota. They don't know how important this is, and I can tell you, because I've tracked it and I've looked at it, in Canada, if no Canadian team's in the finals, you could tell that the Stanley Cup viewing rate during the semifinals or quarterfinals and that is not as high as the ratings for the junior tournament when it's in Canada or anywhere else. They follow this thing all the way up. Just look at football in the United States, how they track the players, even basketball, the Final Four, how everybody knows those players. That's what this is. That's what this is. And all these guys playing in this tournament really are talented. And 5 years from now, they're gonna be the McDavids, the Kaprizovs, stuff like that. That's who you're gonna see, so I think it's wonderful for us to get it. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Louis, appreciate that. I want to just also really thank Scott Slarks. I think a lot of you know Scott right back here. He is a lead PR person for University of Minnesota men's hockey team, has been such a great host and helped us for the World Junior Summer Showcase. I know he'll be around for the World Championship, World Junior Championship as well when we come back in December. Slarksy, thank you for everything. And again, thank you all for being here. Let's see, how are we doing on time here? I think if people will be here if you want to talk to them for a couple of minutes one-on-one. Do we have, Kath, am I forgetting anything that I should mention here? She gave me a wonderful script. I hope I got most of it in. Lot to cover. There's more detail that you'll get as things roll along, but does anybody have any questions or things we can cover? These guys are happy to answer it, and don't be shy.